You know, my dear friend, every time I sit down with you to talk, I feel like I'm having one of the best evenings of my life. At 80 years old, I've seen a lot, lost a lot, gained a lot, and eaten more strange foods than I care to admit. But you, at 60, you're right there at that sweet spot where you're still full of energy, but wise enough not to waste it on silly things. I like that about you. You remind me of my younger self, though much prettier, of course. Now, I told you I had something important to share today, didn't I? Something that changed my nights for the better and gave me back the kind of sleep I thought only babies and teenagers got. It's about a Japanese doctor, an old fellow who lived longer than some trees. They called him one of the oldest practicing doctors in Japan, and he lived well past 100. Imagine still working at that age, while people my age can barely bend down to tie their shoes without making a sound like a rusty door hinge. This doctor had secrets worth gold. And the best part is, they were hidden in simple foods. 8 foods, to be exact. Foods that not only keep you from waking up a dozen times to visit the bathroom at night, but also help your blood sugar stay steady like a calm ocean. Before I tell you about those foods, let me paint a little picture of what life used to be like for me. Every night, I'd crawl into bed like a tired dog, thinking I'd get a good long rest. But no. 2 hours later, I'd be up, stumbling toward the bathroom. Then again 2 hours after that. Then again. By morning, my wife used to look at me and say, "Paul, you look like you fought a war in your dreams." And she wasn't wrong. My nights were broken into pieces, and so was my energy the next day. I'd be grumpy, dragging my feet, falling asleep in my chair before dinner. I felt like I was slowly turning into a ghost of myself. But then, I read about this Japanese doctor and his foods. At first I thought, what can a little bean or seed do for me? My bladder's got a mind of its own. That's what I thought too. But the Japanese have been eating soy for centuries. Miso soup in the morning, tofu with dinner, soy milk, soy sauce. And they live longer than almost anyone else in the world. Turns out, soy is packed with something called isoflavones. Sounds fancy, but really it's just nature's way of balancing things out inside your body. For men like me, it helps the bladder calm down at night. For women like you, it supports hormones and eases nighttime restlessness. It also keeps blood sugar from spiking and crashing. I remember the first time I tried tofu, though. My granddaughter cooked it for me. She said, "Grandpa, you need to eat this. It's good for you." She put it on my plate, all white and soft, and I said, "Is this a piece of soap or food?" She laughed so hard she nearly dropped her chopsticks. But I took a bite, and with a little ginger and soy sauce, it wasn't bad at all. It was smooth, light, and filling. Within a few weeks, I noticed that instead of getting up 6 times at night, I was only getting up twice. That may not sound like much, but when you're 80, that's the difference between feeling like a zombie and feeling human again. The second food was barley. Ah, barley. I used to think it was just something you put in soups to make them thicker. But in Japan, they drink roasted barley tea, especially in the evenings. It's warm, nutty, and has no caffeine, so it won't keep you awake. More importantly, barley is full of something called beta-glucan, which slows down sugar absorption in the body. That means no wild sugar roller coasters in the middle of the night, just steady, calm energy. When your sugar is steady, your bladder's not overworked, and you don't wake up as often. The first time I had barley tea, I wasn't sure about it. It smelled earthy, like roasted nuts, but one sip and I felt my whole body relax. Now, instead of a heavy dinner, I sometimes end my evenings with a small bowl of miso soup and a cup of barley tea. I sleep like a log, well, most nights. Not perfect, but a whole lot better than before. The third food is something I never expected: pumpkin seeds. Those little green gems that most people throw away after carving pumpkins. The Japanese eat them roasted, and they're full of magnesium. Magnesium, my friend, is like oil for the old gears in your body. It relaxes muscles, helps you stay calm, and yes, it helps your bladder hold itself together at night. Less twitching, less urgency. They also lower blood sugar naturally, which means you don't wake up all sweaty or shaky at 2 in the morning. I keep a small jar of pumpkin seeds by my chair now. When I get the urge to snack at night, instead of cookies, I grab a handful of those. Crunchy, tasty, and they do wonders for me. One time, I poured too many into my hand and tried to shove them all into my mouth at once. My wife shook her head and said, "Paul, you look like a squirrel preparing for winter." And she wasn't wrong. But hey, better a squirrel with pumpkin seeds than an old man with too much sugar. The fifth food is edamame. Now don't get scared by the name. It's just young soybeans boiled and sprinkled with a little salt. The Japanese eat them like peanuts, a handful at a time. They're full of protein and fiber, which keep you full without messing up your blood sugar. The first time I tried edamame, I didn't know you were supposed to squeeze the beans out of the pods. I sat there chewing on the shell, wondering why people like this so much. My granddaughter laughed until she cried. Lesson learned, just the beans, not the shells. The fifth food is adzuki beans, tiny, red, and sweet when cooked. They're often used in Japanese desserts, but don't worry, it's not the kind of sweet that sends your blood sugar sky high. Adzuki beans are full of fiber and minerals that help your kidneys and bladder work properly. They act like little janitors, cleaning up extra salt and water in your body. Once I had them in a warm red bean soup. It was sweet, but not too sweet, comforting in a way that reminded me of home. It's funny how food can carry feelings, isn't it? Now let's talk about the sixth food, seaweed. Yes, seaweed. The same stuff that wraps around your legs at the beach and makes you scream like a child. But in Japan, it's a treasure. Nori, wakame, kombu, all kinds of seaweed are eaten daily. Full of minerals like iodine and potassium, they keep your thyroid healthy, balance fluids in the body, and calm the bladder. They also help regulate blood sugar. The first time I had sushi, I wasn't sure about eating raw fish wrapped in seaweed. I thought it was madness, but one bite and I understood why the Japanese love it. Light, fresh, and oddly satisfying. The seventh food is buckwheat. Now, despite the name, it's not wheat at all. It's a seed, often turned into soba noodles in Japan. Gluten-free, high in fiber, and rich in something called rutin, which strengthens blood vessels and improves circulation. When your circulation is good, your bladder muscles work better, and your sugar stays stable. Plus, soba noodles are lighter than regular pasta, so you don't go to bed feeling heavy. I had them once with a dipping sauce, cold soba on a hot day. Refreshing, simple, and kind to the body. And finally, the eighth food, green tea. Now, I know what you're thinking. Doesn't tea keep you awake? Well, green tea does have caffeine, but in small amounts, and it's full of antioxidants called catechins. They reduce inflammation in the urinary tract and keep blood sugar from spiking. The trick is moderation. Don't drink a whole pot before bed. A small cup in the late afternoon or early evening can do wonders. I used to hate the bitterness, but now, with a slice of lemon, it's one of my favorite drinks. So those are the 8 foods: soy, barley, pumpkin seeds, edamame, adzuki beans, seaweed, buckwheat, and green tea. Each one simple, natural, and powerful. And I'll tell you this, since I started adding them into my life, my nights have been calmer, my mornings brighter, and my wife says I snore less. I'm not sure if that's true or if she's just trying to be nice, but I'll take it. Now, my friend, let me stop here and say something important. If you're enjoying this story, and if you want to hear more from an old man like me, don't forget to give this a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. It helps me keep sharing these lessons, and maybe, just maybe, one of them will make your life a little easier. But don't go anywhere yet. We've only scratched the surface. Those foods are powerful, yes, but the stories around them, the traditions, the ways they're eaten, the memories tied to them, that's where the real treasure lies. And I want to share more of that with you, because food isn't just about keeping us alive. It's about giving us joy, comfort, and a reason to keep going, even when the years pile up and our knees creak louder than the floorboards. So let me take you deeper into this world, one memory at a time, one bite at a time, until you see how even the simplest foods can change the way you live your nights and your days. You know, the funny thing about getting older is that food becomes more than just food. When I was young, I ate like a wild animal. Anything in front of me disappeared faster than you could blink. Burgers, pies, soda, you name it. I never thought about how it affected me at night or the next morning. But once you hit 60, 70, and then 80 like me, suddenly every little thing you put in your mouth becomes a message to your body. Eat too much sugar, and my bladder scolds me all night. Eat too much salt, and my ankles puff up like balloons. It's almost like my body keeps a little notebook, writing down every mistake I make and handing me the bill later. That's why what I told you about those 8 foods matters so much. They're not just old wives' tales or trendy nonsense. They've been tested by time, by a culture that has some of the longest living people in the world. Japan didn't get those numbers by accident, my friend. They got there by eating smart, respecting food, and making it part of life instead of just a quick bite. Let me tell you a little more about my journey with each of these foods, because I know sometimes it's hard to imagine making changes at our age. You might be thinking, Paul, I've been eating the same way for 60 years. Why start now? But that's the beauty of it. You don't have to turn your whole life upside down. Just small changes, one food at a time. That's what I did. Take soy, for example. At first I thought I'd never get used to it, but then my granddaughter introduced me to miso soup. It was warm, salty, and had tofu cubes floating like little pillows. I thought I'd hate it, but it reminded me of chicken soup from my childhood, the kind my mother used to make when I was sick. There's something about a warm bowl of soup that speaks to the soul. Now I have miso soup a couple of times a week, usually in the evening. I can't say it fixed me overnight, but slowly the bathroom trips became fewer. My nights became quieter, and that's the kind of change that makes you believe. Barley was another funny story. I bought a bag of roasted barley to make tea, but I didn't read the instructions. Instead of steeping it like tea, I cooked it in a pot and ate it like rice. It was chewy, nutty, and honestly not too bad. But my wife laughed at me. She said, Paul, you're eating tea leaves like cereal. Still, it didn't go to waste. Later I learned the right way, and barley tea became a comfort drink for me. On nights when I'm restless, one warm cup settles me down better than any sleeping pill. And no side effects, unless you count the time I spilled it on my pajamas. Pumpkin seeds became my evening habit. You know how most people watch TV with a bowl of chips? I sit with a bowl of pumpkin seeds. Crunchy, salty, satisfying. And each bite feels like a little investment in my bladder's peace. I remember one night I was watching an old Western movie, and I cracked so many seeds that my wife told me to stop before I turned into a parrot. But I'll take that over potato chips any day. The magnesium in them calms my muscles, keeps me steady, and helps me sleep. It's such a small thing, but when you add up all the small things, you get a big difference. Edamame was harder to get used to. It's not something we grew up with. But once I figured out how to eat it properly, not chewing the shells like cardboard, it became one of my favorite snacks. It's filling without being heavy, and it doesn't mess with my sugar. I sometimes boil a batch in the afternoon and keep them in the fridge. Later at night, when the munchies come, I grab a handful. It beats raiding the cookie jar, that's for sure. Adzuki beans are a funny thing. I never thought I'd like sweet beans. Where I grew up, beans were for chili, for stews, for savory meals. But the Japanese make desserts with them. Sweet red bean paste, soups, even little cakes. At first I thought it was strange, but then I tried it, and it reminded me of comfort food, simple and satisfying. And knowing they help clean out excess salt and water made me appreciate them even more. My ankles don't swell as much these days, and I'm grateful for that. I may not look like I'm 20 anymore, but at least I don't feel like I'm carrying sandbags around my legs. Seaweed was the biggest surprise. I used to hate the stuff at the beach, wrapping around my legs, making me scream like a boy again. But as food, it's something else entirely. My granddaughter brought sushi one day, and I thought she'd gone mad feeding me raw fish, but I gave it a try, and it was delicious. The seaweed added a salty crunch, almost like a whisper of the ocean. Later I learned you can add dried seaweed to soups, salads, even rice. It's full of minerals that keep the body balanced. I swear, after a while, I felt lighter, more energized. It's as if my body said, "Finally, you gave me something useful." Buckwheat was another surprise. I was always a spaghetti man, big, heavy bowls of pasta with meat sauce, comfort food at its best. But at night, it weighed me down like a sack of bricks. Buckwheat soba noodles, though, are light and refreshing. They don't sit in your stomach like a rock, and they're good for circulation, which helps everything from your legs to your bladder. The first time I tried them cold with dipping sauce, I thought, well, this is strange. But after a few bites, I felt refreshed, not sluggish. That's a good feeling at any age. And then there's green tea. I'll admit I didn't like it at first. Too bitter, too grassy. But then I learned to appreciate it. A small cup in the afternoon clears the mind, calms the body, and steadies the sugar. Now it's part of my daily rhythm. Not too much, not too late. Just enough to remind me that health can be as simple as a warm drink shared with someone you love. You see, my friend, it's not just about the foods themselves. It's about the way they weave into your life, the way they change not only your body, but your spirit. When I started adding these foods, I wasn't just fighting Nocturia or blood sugar problems. I was giving myself a chance at better nights, better mornings, better moods. My wife noticed it first. She said, "Paul, you're less grumpy these days." And she was right. Sleep changes everything. Without it, even the nicest person turns into a bear. With it, even an old man like me can laugh and smile again. Now, I won't lie to you. It's not magic. There are still nights when I wake up once or twice. That's just life at 80. But compared to 6 or 7 trips a night, 1 or 2 feels like heaven. And my blood sugar? It's steadier now than it's been in years. No more waking up drenched in sweat or shaking like a leaf. Just calm, steady rest. Sometimes I think about that old Japanese doctor, still working past 100, still sharp, still helping people. And I wonder what kept him going all those years. It wasn't luck, it wasn't money, it was care. Care for what he put in his body, care for his patients, care for living fully. That's the lesson I carry with me, and it's the one I want to pass on to you. Because you, my dear friend, still have so much life ahead of you. 60 is not old, not at all. It's a beginning. You have the chance to shape the next 30, 40 years of your life. And trust me, you want those years to be good ones, full of laughter, energy, and peace. Not years spent stumbling to the bathroom all night, not years of groggy mornings and grumpy afternoons, but peace. So here's my advice. Start with just one change. Don't try to do it all at once. Maybe tonight have a cup of barley tea instead of your usual sweet snack, or grab a handful of pumpkin seeds instead of biscuits. Tomorrow, maybe add miso soup to dinner. Little by little, you'll notice the difference. Your nights will grow quieter, your mornings brighter, and one day you'll wake up after a full night's sleep, and you'll think of me and that old Japanese doctor, and you'll smile, knowing it was worth it. Before I end, let me tell you something funny. A few weeks ago, I slept through the night without waking up once. First time in years. My wife thought I had died in my sleep because I didn't move. She nudged me so hard I nearly jumped out of bed. We laughed about it for days. But that's what good sleep can do. It can make even the silliest moments feel like blessings. So, my dear friend, take these foods to heart. Try them, trust them, and let them bring you peace. And if you're still here listening to this old man ramble, don't forget to like this story, leave a comment, and subscribe. It helps me keep sharing these tales, and it reminds me that my words still matter. Life is short, even at 80, but with the right care, the right food, and the right company, it can be sweet, peaceful, and full of laughter. That's all I want for you. Sleep well, eat well, and remember, you're never too old to make tomorrow better than today.